for Monday's assignment, I'm going to show you a sample problem, and then you're going to finish a problem that's similar to it called 247. And I put the template up also. What I want you to do right now is turn to page 61 in your textbook and look at problem 239. It says prepare a classified balance sheet for the information below. So remember when we talked about in class, before we can do the balance sheet, we have to have an income statement, because we have to know what our net income is so that we can figure the retained earnings on the balance sheet. So the first thing we're going to do is go over and we're going to complete the income statement. You can see that there's all kinds of accounts listed in the problem. If you're looking again at 239, you're going to see some of those accounts go on the balance sheet, some of those go on the income statement. So real quick here, I'm going to put the information on the income statement. So for revenue, we had $10,000. Then we're going to do expenses. If you look there, we only had the one revenue, so we're going to do the expenses. Wages, which was $2,200. Supplies, $3,700, and you can tell sometimes it gets confusing whether supplies is an asset or an expense. If it's listed in the listing of accounts as supplies, that means it's an asset. If they tag on the word expense, that means you should put it in with the expenses on the income statement. The last one is miscellaneous expenses, and that was $1,550. So we're going to move the revenues over, and then we're going to get a total of your expenses, which is $7,450. So our net income is $2,550. Remember, we do the single line to indicate we're adding or subtracting, and then we do the double underline to show that we are at the end. So now that we figured out our income statement, the other thing that we have to do is figure out our beginning retained earnings before we can finish our balance sheet. So we would do beginning retained earnings, earnings, and if you look, it shows those as being $12,000. You're going to add the net income, which is what we just figured, $2,550. If you'd had a net loss, you would subtract it. We're going to look and see if they paid any dividends. In this case, they did, $1,500. And this is going to be our ending retained earnings. So basically, you're going to take the $12,000 plus the $2,550, subtract $1,500, and your ending retained earnings would be $13,050. So this is the number that we're going to take and we're going to plug in over on our balance sheet. Under owner's equity, let's get rid of this because we did it on the other sheet. Okay. Under retained earnings. Be $13,050. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get our assets put into our balance sheet. So again, if you're looking at the list of accounts, we go through and we start finding our assets. And remember, we talked about in class, they're divided up into current, which are things that are within a year, and long-term, which are assets over a year that we're going to keep and hold on to for over a year. So we're going to put cash of $1,950, accounts receivable of $2,500, and supplies of $1,800. For some reason I didn't get the $2,500 typed up there. So our total current assets are $6,250. Then we're going to take a look and see what long-term assets we have, and in this case it's equipment for $11,275. That's the only one that we have, so our total is going to be $11,275. So our total assets, if we added the $6,250 and the $11,275, are $17,525. So the next thing we're going to look at is we're going to do the same thing with liabilities. We're going to take a look at that list of accounts and we're going to figure out which of those are current liabilities, which means we will pay those within a year, or long-term liabilities, things that will take us longer than a year to pay. And if we look at our list, accounts payable would be $3,450, and wages payable $250. Then we're going to get our total current liabilities of $3,700. So the next thing we look at is our long-term liabilities, and in this case we don't have any. Okay, so all we're going to do is leave that blank, and we're going to put total liabilities of $3,700. So actually, we wouldn't even need this. We could get rid of this and only have current. All right, so our last thing, let's go ahead and insert a spot. Okay, so remember we talked about in class, owner's equity is only made up of two accounts, capital stock and retained earnings. We figured our retained earnings when we completed our balance or our income statement. So capital stock is $775. So then if we add our total owner's equity, it'd be $13,825. So then we would add our total liabilities and owner's equity is $17,525. So what we're looking for again, if you remember, if we look at our accounting equation, assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity, we have assets of $17,525. We have total liabilities and owner's equity of $17,525. Therefore, we know that we did the problem right. So what I loaded up for you is problem 247. And I have put the Excel spreadsheet up there that is a template. So for homework tonight, what you're to do is to complete problem 247 and put your completed file in the Dropbox. If you have any questions, let me know.